All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully, you're having a good day so far. At least here locally, pretty calm, but out over, well, the Gulf of Mexico, moving into the Western Atlantic and the Central Atlantic, pretty active. I mean, it's a little bit early for this type of activity, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But thanks for hanging around. Thanks for stopping in. We'll get a quick update here. Nothing that's immediately concerning for us here in Florida, but when you look out over across the tropical Atlantic, it is pretty busy there in the western Gulf of Mexico. We have Invest 95L. It's a trough of low pressure that's slowly drifting to the west. We have newly developed potential tropical cyclone number 2 that is approaching the southern windward islands of the Caribbean, and then we have a tropical wave. In fact, another tropical wave, so 2 tropical waves following behind potential tropical cyclone 2, another tropical wave just exiting the African coast right now. And again, that train of waves moving across the Atlantic really does look more like what you would expect to see into August, September, really into the heart of hurricane season. But yeah, here we are in the end of June, and it's already looking more like the middle of hurricane season. Let's talk about the potential for development out there. We already have potential tropical cyclone 2. It's not quite a depression yet, though actually it does have tropical storm force winds embedded within it. It just hasn't developed that well organized central circulation around the center of that low pressure system. But once it does, it will become Tropical Storm Bonnie. So it will bypass the tropical depression status because of the winds that have been observed within the system, and it'll go right to a tropical storm. Meanwhile, we've got Invest 95L there in the western Gulf of Mexico, and then that trailing wave behind PTC2, which just has a 20% chance of development. Before we get into PTC2, I want to talk about Invest 95L, a little bit closer to home, but it's not going to impact our weather here in Tampa Bay. You can see that broad area of circulation around that low pressure system. It kind of looks like that. Though it's not very organized, it certainly is evident there. In fact, some thunderstorms starting to develop a little bit closer to that center there, which could indicate that it's trying to organize a little bit. There might be a little bit more of a circulation up here too within some of those thunderstorms that have developed this morning. Regardless, it doesn't have much time as it slowly drifts to the west over the next 48 hours or so. So we'll see. I mean, the warm water there in the Gulf of Mexico could provide just enough fuel for this system to become at least a tropical storm. I don't know if it's going to have the ability to get up to could become a tropical depression, but whether it becomes a tropical storm, I think that's going to be hard to do. Still something worth watching, and something that's going to bring some heavy rainfall to portions of the Texas coast through the second half of the week. Meanwhile, here's what we have a little more likely to become a tropical storm. In fact, that's almost a guarantee at this point. You can see we've seen some thunderstorm activity start to fire up over the last several hours, and you can really start to see some of that circulation within this system too. This is going to be the general area where we would expect to find that, whether it's a closed area of circulation or not. The hurricane hunters are actually flying in the storm as we speak, so they're going to do a couple of passes here. It looks like they found some wind speeds up around 62 miles per hour, which well exceeds that 39 mile per hour threshold for a tropical storm. Just found a pressure of right around 1010 millibars. Nothing impressive with that, but regardless, it's going to make this pass here. That's going to take it to, basically they fly in this pattern here. They'll go like that. Now they're doing that. They're likely going to go back up here, and they could do any number of things. They might go back to the south and then go back up that way. We'll see how it all plays out and what their flight plan ends up being. Regardless, what they're trying to find when they are crisscrossing through the storms, again, they're trying to find, has the wind speeds or the winds within this low pressure system, have they closed off? Has it become a tropical with that warm core and that central circulation around that center? Has that developed? And once it does, then they will determine on whether or not it's a tropical storm. So I think we could see something by 11 o'clock. This flight's going to be in here for another couple of hours, and then we're going to get another flight to check out the storm a little bit later on today. There are tropical storm warnings up for Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, a tropical storm watch in effect for Curacao, and then we'll likely see some more watches and warnings over the Western Caribbean later today. I mentioned the hurricane hunters. Again, they're flying right now. That's that 4:45 flight this morning. Another flight, actually, the NOAA flight based in Lakeland. Kermit is going to be flying in the storm at 10 o'clock this morning, or at least that's when they'll take off, probably from Barbados later today. And then we'll see another U.S. Air Force airplane take off at 5:15 this afternoon, and another one tomorrow morning. So they've got some good scheduled flights here, and they'll be continuing to investigate this storm. Here's the latest forecast cone from the Hurricane Center. This is still the 5 o'clock cone. We'll get a new forecast cone at 11 o'clock this morning, but it is forecasted barely maintain tropical storm strength through Thursday. It looks like by Friday it'll begin to strengthen as it moves a little bit farther away from land. I think as it moves across Venezuela there and Colombia, it'll have a hard time strengthening. But once it gets away from land and it really opens up into some of that warm water of the southwestern Caribbean, it'll start to strengthen, and the forecast is for it to become a Cat 1 hurricane. A relatively weak hurricane, but still a hurricane right there as it approaches somewhere through Central America into Saturday morning. And then it actually is going to try to jump across Central America, and we'll see if we have one of those systems that maintain its circulation as it moves into the Pacific. If it does, then it would keep the name Bonnie. If it loses its circulation over Nicaragua or wherever it passes, then it would get a Pacific name. But that's just one of those odd scenarios that sometimes we see storms jump from Atlantic basin to Pacific, or vice versa. Just want to show you the forecast model with PTC2 at this point. You see how it really has a hard time. I'll back it up a little bit here. It has a hard time really keeping its structure and keeping its organization as it moves along the coast of Venezuela and near Curacao. And then once it jumps out over the open waters of the Caribbean, you can see that circle begin to close up. That's that low pressure system beginning to form, and then it potentially becomes that low end Category 1 hurricane, maybe a little bit stronger. We could see rapid intensification there as it approaches Nicaragua into what would be Saturday into Sunday. So we'll see how that all plays out. But just a quick update for you this morning as we really ramp up into hurricane season this morning. I mean, it really does look like, it looks like hurricane season, doesn't it? Have a look there. Multiple areas with potential development. Another wave trailing behind the disturbance number 2 there. So several areas that we're keeping an eye on. Fortunately, at least here in Florida, nothing that is all that concerning here this morning. But we're here, we're tracking it, we're keeping an eye on everything, because you got to watch these waves closely. And this secondary wave, that disturbance number 2 that we're looking at here, that one has shown some sign of potentially moving across Hispaniola and then traveling up into the Bahamas and potentially visiting the east coast of Florida into next week. So that will be something to keep an eye on. Like I said, you've got to watch all these systems, since this time of year the water's warm enough and that the conditions come together. We could see them just start to put up a little swirl, and that little swirl would be the beginning of a tropical system that we could have to worry about. So that's the state of things right now. We'll continue to keep you posted as these updates come in. The next update from the Hurricane Center will be at 11 o'clock this morning. We'll get a new cone for the forecast on potential Tropical Cyclone 2. Maybe even by that point it will be Tropical Storm Bonnie, and then the next intermediate update coming with just an update with wind speeds and a new tropical outlook will be at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So have a good rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy that sunshine that we've got out, at least here in Tampa Bay right now, and just watch out for some more local regular summertime storms later this afternoon, guys. Have a great Tuesday. We'll catch you later.